Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Suzanne Jerome and welcome to my Life with a Purpose podcast. And I just want to tell you that I'm a thalidomide from birth. Now what that means is that when my mum was pregnant with me, she was getting a bit anxious because there was a lot of things going on at the time. And so she went to the doctor and asked the doctor for some help. And she was saying she was having insomnia. And so the doctor gave her this tablet to help her and said that it was quite safe. And then she just went home and went on with her life. And while I was growing in her tummy, unbeknownst to her and Dad, my arms stopped growing. Even though the Lord, when I was formed in my mother's womb, when I was put in my mother's womb, the Lord had formed me perfectly. When I found out Mum had taken the tablet about the 24th day of conception, after conception, and I found out that that's when it actually stunts the growth of arms. And this is the result of it. These are my arms that I was born with, but they actually weren't even in this position. They were in another position. So Mum had to manipulate them around so I could be like this. And I was actually born into a family where I had an older brother, a mum and a dad, and then an older brother, and then later on, or a couple of years later, a younger sister. So I was actually smack bang in the middle. So it was a bit of a different life for me. And then I was able to experience a lot of things in my life that perhaps a lot of other people may not have been, because I had a love for singing. I started off singing because I actually couldn't play any sports when I was little. At the time, I couldn't play soccer because I wasn't a boy. And, of course, I couldn't play netball because I didn't have the arms. So Mum had to find another interest for me, and that was singing. So I think I started singing at about the age of 12. And then also around about the same time, Mum was looking for a choir for me to join. And I found a local choir that I joined called the Linnet Girls Choir. And the actual joining age was 14, but because of my voice training and things like that, I was able to join the choir. They graciously accepted me at the age of 12 and not 14. And I was able to travel the world as in the choir. I went to Scotland, Wales, I went to America. I also did a lot of singing around here in Sydney and Canberra at Stedfords with the choir. And it was a really, really good experience. And then, of course, I moved on from that and I followed my heart because I followed the Lord. I love the Lord very much. He's a very big part of my life. And I found I wanted to know the Lord a lot more, and I found a fellowship that really introduced the Lord to me like I had never known before. And I also wanted to teach kids Sunday school because I wanted them to have the experience that I had as a little girl knowing Jesus, and that he was my support as well. And he got me through a very lot of hard times. And I had an emotional life as a young child. I didn't get bullied, I don't think, or whatever, but I got pointed out because in my community everybody knew me. And I took it as, oh, look, Mummy, there she is. And they wanted to make fun of me, but I took it the wrong way. They didn't want to make fun. They were just amazed at how I was growing up and what I did. So I just, singing was a passion and loving the Lord was a passion. So I followed after the Lord, and then in that fellowship I found my husband, and we ended up getting married and had 2 beautiful boys, and they were amazing. And also, the Lord was amazing. He helped me look after my babies. I was able to do their nappies and feed them at times as well, and it was just a real blessing. And then I just moved on with the Lord and was part of the fellowship again, and I then moved on into teaching kids in Kids Club, and I loved it. The kids were amazing, and some of them had good lives, some of them didn't, but they all didn't know Jesus that well. But God used my husband and myself to do that, and then later on we were able to go to Russia, to some children's camps and share with them about the gospel as well. And then now I'm sort of just doing what the Lord wants me to do, and now I've started this podcast. So hopefully I'll get to share a bit more of my life in the coming episodes, of what you might like to know. I mean, I also was able to cook with my feet. I was able to drive with my feet. I still can. I used to write with my feet, but now I got taught to write with my arm, so which I prefer writing with the arm. It's much quicker and easier. At school, that was a big thing. We had to do a lot of writing. And then I also could crochet with my feet as well. And I just kept doing whatever I wanted to do. And the Lord gave me the ability to think about how I could do this or how I could do that. But nowadays my husband actually does the cooking a little bit more than I do. And he's a good cook, I will say that. So everything I did in my life, I had a purpose. And even when I went overseas, I want to say this, when I went overseas, I always made sure I had a Bible in my bag, in my luggage bag, because that was to remind me that wherever I went, the Lord was with me. But now I know the Lord is in me, so that's still good to carry your Bible with you anyway. But and just knowing that the Lord loves me for who I am and accepts me for who I am, that means a whole lot to me, and that's why I loved him. As young as 4 or even 3, I knew Jesus, and he was always my best friend. Yes, I had some best friends, but Jesus was always the one I would come back to. And I remember as an 8-year-old, I would just look up into the sky and I would say, Lord, I know you're there and I know you're listening. I'd like one day to hear you. And I do now. The Lord does speak to me, and I'm really blessed by that. And he helps me get through everything. So my life was an amazing life, and that's why I've called it Life with a Purpose, because God gave me that purpose. So now I just want to share with you about how another thing that came about that's been a long time coming, and that was to the national apology to us thalidomide victims. And it was a fight. We had to, a friend of mine in the thalidomide community, she was fighting on our behalf very much, doing a lot of toing and froing with the government and the health department. And then we finally got the national apology given to us, which was a lot harder to take, because even though it was good that we had the apology, for me personally and a few others of us, it was hard because we wanted our parents to hear it. They were the ones that had to endure what was going on in our lives. I mean, they didn't know what we were. They didn't know what to do for us, but they did what they could. And it should have been to them because they they allowed the drug into Australia, and they said, oh yes, it's safe and secure and it won't damage or anything. But that was a lie, because they did have, the government was sent a letter from the German government to say that it is dangerous to the fetuses in the mother's womb. But unfortunately, when my friend was learning about it, she discovered that they had it on their desk for about a month or two before they even did anything about it. And I'll tell you one thing, I was reading some things about thalidomide, and I will say this, that the only president or prime minister that told people to look for the drug in their medicine cabinets or whatever and get rid of it was actually JFK Kennedy. And I was amazed. I was sitting down when I watched the podcast, but he was the one, he stood with Dr. Kelsey, who stopped it from going into the US, and he was the only one that told people to don't take the drug and get rid of it. And that blew me away, I tell you. And that's why we were a bit angry at our government, because they knew about it, but nobody did anything about it. It was probably after I was born, maybe another year after that the drug was totally, supposedly gotten rid of, but it didn't. We still heard stories of people getting affected by it, and we're still hearing stories about it today. And we know that the drug is used in Brazil, and there's a lot of young children down there that have been affected by it as well. So it's not totally gone. So I would advise, or not advise, I'm not a doctor or a nurse, but just be careful and don't just think that the doctor knows everything, because things can affect us without us even questioning what's going on. So, and in fact, when I had my children, I definitely was not taking anything, no matter how bad the morning sickness was. That was I said, I'm not taking anything. And the only thing I did take, and that was natural, it was ginger. I had ginger tea and ginger bites, or whatever you call them. And I got through it, thank God, through the pregnancy. I didn't have as bad a morning sickness as others could have. But I just thank the Lord that I didn't. And the same with things that are going on today. I am very careful what I put in my body now. I will try and question it, find out what I can find out about it, and I won't put anything in my body that's not good for my body. So anyway, back to the national apology. It was good to hear it, and it was good that I had my husband and my one son there with me. My other son, my youngest son, does night shift, and we asked him to stay home at our place to look after our older Labrador dog. But he was happy to just do that and watch it. But I had my son and my husband come with me down to Canberra. And as you can see, there's another photo of us out the front in the Parliament House. There we are. That's my oldest son and his girlfriend, and my husband on your right or left. One next to the orange jacket. I had to wear it because it was raining. As I said, it was cold in Canberra, and we had the umbrellas. But it was good to go down and get the national apology from the government himself. So we went through, and we went in through security, and then we went into the Great Hall because we had to drop our phones off. We couldn't have our phones there. Then we had to go through another lot of security, and then we were signed into, went into the main hall, and we were all filing in and sitting down, and next thing I see, there's the Prime Minister and the opposition leader down there. And then, of course, straight at 10:30, we got the apology, both from the Prime Minister and the opposition leader. And the Prime Minister read some quotes from some other thalidomides, and then the opposition was reading some quotes from some others, and I realised, oh, he said my one as well, how I didn't like thalidomide because I lost my independence. I had to depend on a lot of people. So I was really surprised that they even said that as well. And but it was good to hear them. And I know a lot of other thalidomides in the auditorium were crying and they were upset and things because they have gone through a lot more than I did. But I just want to thank the Lord that He's looked after me and helped me through my life. And I'd say some of others who are Christians had their life protected by the Lord as well. But they were crying because of the memories and the hurts. There were a lot of hurts. And I heard some of my friends were bullied as well, especially the guys. I used to think it was easy for the guys. Us girls got it harder, but really we both got it, both the guys and the girls. And I apologise for saying that because we all got affected one way or another. As I said, mine was emotional. But anyway, we're all in there and we listened, and then next thing we have to file out again and go back to the Great Hall where you see the photo of my husband and I in front of the National Apology and my older son, John. And but we got to go in and see a lot of people. Some I hadn't met before and some I had seen before, but we're talking to other people. But I was really blessed that excuse me. I was really blessed to see some of the older ones. I saw one of the girls, her father was one of the main ones who helped us, my parents, get a compensation for us when we were younger. Because they didn't know what was going to happen, whether we were going to be looked after if they weren't around to help us and things like that. So anyways, we had a good chat and met up, and then later on in the afternoon we had another organisation where we would go and meet more people and meet up with some old friends, and it was really, really good to see them all. And some of them were on a roving mic. They would share their stories. I mean, one lady, we didn't know this, but her parents were friends with Dr. McBride and his wife. And he was one of the instigators of tying thalidomide with us and how we were affected by the drug. So it was good to hear that story, that the girl's mother was told, now throw them down the toilet and don't use any more because that's what's happening. So he was able to find out that. And there was another Christian lady, she brought her whole family, but she was actually born 20 years later, but still affected by the thalidomide drug. And there are others out there who, excuse me, I'm going to have a drink of water. And there were others out there who were affected by thalidomide internally, but they didn't get recognised, but they're getting recognised now. So that's really, really good. So it was good to hear that they're finally getting recognised for having internal problems. I remember going to a doctor in Germany when I was visiting my friend over there, and the first thing he asked me was, do you have 2 kidneys? And I looked at him, I said, I think so. As far as I know, I have. And then he was saying that's one of the things, there's only 1 kidney. And then he said another time there was a lady that had 2 uteruses. And I go, wow, And, there's so many things we're still learning today of how thalidomide has affected us. And this afternoon get-together was so amazing. We've just made new friends. We get together. We've got thalidomide on Facebook. We've got groups and things like that as well. So that was all on the Wednesday. And then on the Thursday, they decided, as you can see up there, that's the memorial for to remember the thalidomide tragedy, because we didn't want anyone to forget the effects it had on our lives. And these pictures here are actually showing of how thalidomide is. It's like you throw a pebble. You know how you throw a pebble in the water and you start to get the ripple effect? Well, that's how it affected us, you see. It affected us. It affected our parents, our siblings, and then later on our spouses and our children. But I just want to say thanks to the Lord for my husband, who has been there to support me and wanted to marry me. You know, I mean, some of the other husbands out there are amazing too. I mean, I met a man, him and his wife, she was affected by thalidomide. Excuse me. But he was very kind, he was very supportive and very helpful to her. So there's a lot of men out there, and I take my hat off to the men and to the wives that have supported thalidomide victims. You are amazing. And I thank my husband for that. And my kids, they knew how to help me when they got older too. So that was a great thing. So that's what this ripple effect is. You can see the memorial down the bottom left, that's to represent the rippling effect of how it all affected our lives. And on the bricks, I didn't show you, but on the bricks there's descriptions of how we felt, like frustration, hurts, disappointments, anger, and a whole lot more. I mean, they're only the ones I wrote down, but there's a whole lot more as well. And it's just amazing to see it. And up in the top left corner, that's just a little medallion that they gave us. It's got gold on it. I don't know if it's real or not, but anyway. And on the tote, this is just the tote bag that everything was put into. And again, you can see the ripple effect of throwing the pebble into the water and how it affects everyone. And it affected my friends. I mean, I had good friends who looked after me, and I had those that were just normal around me. And sometimes I didn't know how to take it, but, you know, I had good friends. I will say that. The Lord made sure I had good friends around me. And it was just amazing. But the thing that really hurt to me over the years was not being able to give a hug to people who were hurting as well. I know my mum gave me hugs, and my friends and my husband and my children, but not being able to hug my children when they were born. I would have them on my lap or something like that, but I'd always have to have someone near me in case they rolled or something. And not to be able to pick them up myself was really hurtful. But I found ways of doing that, though. Someone showed me how to put my baby in a a carry pouch, and then carry him on me that way. That was fun. But anyway, it's just there were many things I had to think about. I had to be shown, I had to be helped with, and that's where Mum came into it. She was my support system in a lot of ways. So I just thank the Lord for my mum as well. And so the memorial represents the ripple effect, as I said, just to remind us or remind the world, do not use the thalidomide drug. But as I mentioned before, it is still roaming around, and it still is affecting a lot of people, especially on the black market. We found it's still there. They still use it for leprosy, and that's sort of a bit iffy. The only thing they did do was end up putting on the bottle to say that it's not good for pregnant women, which is something, but it wasn't what we wanted. But anyway, so I just want to sort of thank the Lord that that's happened anyway. But I just wanted to say too that for me, I'm learning that thalidomide doesn't define me. My Father defines me. Life doesn't define me, but my Heavenly Father does. And I just want to thank the Lord for that. And because He was always with me and He helped me get through the hard times in my life, and it was amazing. Because as I said, He was always my best friend. I would go and talk to friends and that, but I'd get upset about something they said. I'd misunderstand what they said. But I'd always go home and have a cry and just talk to the Lord, and then I felt peace. So I just want to thank the Lord for that. And so this is the first of many podcasts. So in my up and coming podcasts, I'll be sharing a lot more on my life. Hopefully that whets your appetite. And I just want to say thank you for joining me.